Hey everybody, this is John Eric Bentley, the voice of Barrett, Wallace from Final Fantasy VII Remake, Nick Fury from Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, and so many other projects, and you are listening to Hawaii's #1 podcast, the Kasanova Podcast. Yeah.
The Kasanova Podcast, the #1 podcast in Hawaii, is brought to you by these contributors on Patreon. If you'd like to see more content like this more often, as well as more podcast reviews, impressions, early access releases, live streams, and original content, then consider becoming a patron today. All right, and welcome to another episode of Hawaii's #1 podcast, the Kasanova Podcast. I'm your host, Mekel Kasanova. I'm coming at you with another phenomenal episode, and in this one, we have the honor and privilege of interviewing the legendary and iconic John Eric Bentley. He's the voice of the one and only Barrett Wallace from Final Fantasy VII Remake. And it is such an honor to have him on the show, and today we're going to be talking about everything from his career to how he got started, Final Fantasy VII Remake, and so much more. So, if you're ready to do it, I'm ready to do it. Let's go ahead and welcome John Eric Bentley onto the show.
Is that a gaming chair behind you over your right shoulder?
Yeah, that's one of my wife's sponsors.
Nice.
They took care of her with that. So
Nice.
she got her own setup. So she said if I'm gonna have my section, she's like, I gotta have my own too.
I heard that.
I'm like, well, that's cool.
Is that her screen? She got her own screen too?
She got two of them. She got a whole. Let me get this out the way.
Wifey is hooked up. She got her own pop.
She got her
section?
own pop filter. She got her own custom mic and everything like that.
Oh, she got a pink
Lighting.
chair. That's cool.
And it's like, I'm like, can I have? She's like, half of that's mine. I'm like, all right.
I love it. I love that.
Oh man.
Ah,
I guess let's go ahead and do it. So
Yes,
welcome
sir.
everyone to Hawaii's #1 podcast, the Kasanova Podcast. I'm your host, Mekel Kasanova. I've got the honor and the privilege of having the one, the only, the iconic and legendary John Eric Bentley. How's it going, man?
I'm good, man, but I'm just John Eric Bentley. I ain't all that. I'm just, but I appreciate it, man. I'm doing good. How about you?
Man, I'm doing good, staying home, staying safe.
Please do.
Man, it's crazy times right now.
You ain't got to tell me, man. It's like you go outside, it's like rolling dice, and you hope you don't land on 7.
Right?
You know? It's like, what's that in the air? I don't know. I hope it's bugs. It's flying at me. Oh my God.
Oh man, bro, we were so for the audience, y'all didn't know, we were chopping it up before we started this, and man, dude, I love your energy, I love your charisma.
Oh, I appreciate it, man. I learned that from Robin Williams.
Oh, word.
Yeah, I grew up watching Mork and Mindy, and then as you get older, you find out how much stuff the man has done. And
Yeah.
then I was just talking about him to my boys last night, actually. And then you start the access to the internet allows you to see some of his stand-up that he used to do. But then I did a show with him right before he left this earth, called The Crazy Ones. And even at his age, and even as what was going on, he just brought this energy to the room and we were outside that just was full of joy. He just kind of inspired joy in people. So he's one of the people that I just admire, and I just hope that I can do the same to bring happiness to people, especially during times like this, but usually anytime, because we just don't have enough of it in the world, in my opinion.
No, we really don't. And one of the things, like I try to tell a lot of people, from my nieces and nephews and family to other folks, is like, I mean, we don't know how much time we got here. We need to make the most of it.
Exactly.
Try to help. I'm a huge believer in paying it forward and helping other folks out because you just never know, man. You know, if you got the opportunity to help someone,
why wouldn't you? You know what I mean? Why wouldn't you? If you're in a position to help someone, to bless somebody, to bring a smile on their face, why wouldn't you? You know what I mean? You know, that's what I always say. My prayer in the morning is, hey, help me touch somebody today. It's different now because, you know, we're quarantined, but as far as the physical part of it, meeting someone or going out, but even with the voice, whatever it can be, help me to bless somebody today. Help me to touch someone's heart today and uplift and edify them, because I think that's what we're called to do as human beings. We just don't have enough of it going around, you know? So that's me.
No, I fully agree with you, man. But at the same time, we still gotta, you know.
Right now, if I'm out, I'm gonna give somebody the elbow, like, "Hey, what's up, dog?" You know, I can't hug like I used to, but you know, I always say though, these things too shall pass. I don't know when, but I do hope that, you know, we save a lot more than we're losing. Both physically, mentally, and spiritually. I hope that you know, I hope a lot of people are safe and doing well. But as far as whatever I can do, I just want to try to remain healthy so that I can minister to my family, take care of them, and then, you know, bring joy to whoever I can in this world.
Yeah. And so with that being said, man, if we go ahead, introduce yourself, man, tell people what, you know, we as we know, man, you are the infamous Barrett Wallace in Final Fantasy VII Remake, but you've done so much in your illustrious career, man. So go ahead and tell people where they can find you, you know, plug all your outlets, any upcoming ventures. I understand NDAs, you know, I know you're working on main projects all the time, but whatever you can share, go ahead.
Yeah, on the real, man, you're going to laugh at me, and probably everybody who hears this. I'm just getting up to par with social media. So I literally have to pull this out to figure out what my handles are. I only know. Everybody's like, "Hey man, you need to be on Instagram." Hey man, and my son's like, "Hey, you need to forget about Facebook. You need to be on the gram." And I'm like, "What?" And they're like, "Dad, you need to go ahead and do the Twitter." I'm like, "Tweet? I don't get it." And so they're like, "Oh, you need to understand what Zoom is. You need to know how to do Skype. You need it." And then all of a sudden, I'm like, "Man, forget y'all. Y'all young." Then all of a sudden, and the world is like, "You can't come in here and do voiceovers anymore. You have to now have your own booth." So I'm like, "Oh, I know. I need to Twitter. I need to Skype. I need to Zoom. I need," you know. So they were all right, and you know, I guess you can find me on Twitter under John Bentley or John Eric Bentley. Is it at? Is Twitter, and then the other one is the # thing, and I think that one's Instagram, and I think that's John Bentley or John Eric Bentley, my name. And then what is the other stuff?
I'm grabbing it all right now for the audience.
yeah, you get it, man, because I don't, man, I'm horrible at it. I know I'm supposed to be plugging myself and all that, but I'm just like, do the work, babies get to eat, wife is happy, you know.
No, I understand, man. It's hard to because so you know, you and I we came up in the age of before social media and all this other stuff. It is crazy.
Yeah,
I think you got people that live their whole lives like through a phone.
Yeah, you know the craziest part, Kel. The craziest part is if you want to work in the business of entertainment, you have to be plugged in and you have to have followers. If you don't have followers, people are like, "Okay, well, if we know he did a great job at the audition, but if we hire him, how many people are going to watch our show? This guy over here sucked at the audition, but he's got 950,000 followers, so we need to hire him. They'll watch the show."
Yeah,
and it's like, oh, so that changes the game. It's no longer about just talent sometimes. Or no longer about just getting hired because of your work ethic or because of your personality or because you can do the damn job. It's about getting hired because everybody else is going to now pay attention to whatever that brand is or whatever that it's a trip. It's a different world we live in. Yeah. In some cases.
You know, another thing too is like, because I deal with that a lot too with what I do. Like I was telling you before we started this, like I work with various game companies, and I do this podcast and whatnot, and it's trippy when it comes to trying to work with different companies. Like, some folks are like, how many followers you got? How many subscribers you got on YouTube?
Right.
How many folks you got on Twitter and blah?
Right.
Oh, you're small. You don't have enough. And I'm over here like,
what do I do? My hands are tied. No, it's serious. Have you had this yet? Well, who have you interviewed?
Yes.
Well, who have your guests been?
Yes.
Not just from those people who want to subscribe or the people who listen, but from the people who you're like, hey, can we do an interview? Well,
yes.
Who's been on your show? Man, come on, bro.
Bro, I've gotten so many people turn me down, like just within like the last couple of months, because they're like, well, I don't know if you haven't interviewed anyone of this status, and I'm like, I'm like, look, first off, I'm in Hawaii. You might want to come out here to Hawaii.
Right.
Come on
right.
now.
There's perks to this. Right. No, like I said, man, don't get me wrong. People do have to vet, the people that they're going to spend time with. But when you go back and see the work, which like my agents were like, hey, you need to check this guy out. I'm like, okay. And so, of course, you have your podcast, you have everything there where we can see it. I'm like, oh, this is first class. He's doing his thing. Of course I'll do it. But I told them, as a matter of fact, I said, hey, I want to do the show, but does he want to do the show before the release date or after, so we can actually talk about more stuff? Because if we would have done it before, it's like, okay, I'm gonna tell you the audition process later. NDA, gotta go.
Yep.
But now it's out there and we can talk about certain things.
No, because I went through that with I interviewed Nicole Tompkins from Resident Evil 3 Remake, and same thing when I was dealing with her agents. They're like, you want to do it before or after? And I'm like, give me the pros and cons.
Choose wisely, young Jedi.
It's like, it's in the balance. Which
right.
one you want to go with? And then
right.
They're like, well, do you want to have your typical iconic conversations, or you just, organic and whatnot? Or do you want yes and no?
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
Exactly. Patience is a virtue in that instance, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. You have to be wise with it. That's funny.
Yeah. So, dude, let's get a brief background about yourself. And, not only as an actor, but as a voice actor as well. You've got a storied career, man. Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. I'll start from the beginning, but I guess I'm a little different. I don't. Everyone's like, well, I'll never forget. Somebody said, "Hey, man, tell me about yourself. What have you done?" Like a friend, even a friend. Hey, what's the last thing you worked on? What you working on now? I'm like, I don't remember, because I'm just trying to feed family, bro. I got mouths to feed, so I go from job to job to job. I don't keep up with my stuff like stats, because the overall purpose, and it's not about me like tripping or anything or false humility or anything. I just, work is work. You know what I mean? I can remember it if I did it like last week or, yesterday. But for the most part, people always say, what have you done? And I always feel like if I start talking, I feel like I'm bragging. It's just me. It's just how I was brought up. But as we were talking before, mom and dad from the South, and I just so I always say, hey, look up IMDb, then you can see my work. And then people were like, oh, you all. I'm like, yeah, I just don't. I'm not trying to be all that. It's a lot, So when I started off, my mom was a school teacher. My dad worked for the steel mill in Chicago. My mom's from Nashville. My dad is from Alabama, Decatur, Alabama, and Murfreesboro in Tennessee, and then Nashville is where she basically grew up. So my mom was a school teacher and educator, and all of my uncles and aunts were they dealt with SNCC and all the different things that were going on during the civil rights movement. I am adopted. So I was adopted in Chicago or Evanston, Illinois. I recently just found out, a bunch of information about all that. And then my mom passed in 96. My dad just passed in 2017. So I'm giving you all that background to give you this.
Oh, man,
my mom taught me how to read at, I think, the age of 5. So by the time I was 8, I had already read like the Iliad, the Odyssey, all these different things.
Yeah.
Greek mythology was my thing. And I'll never forget, my mom was like, I said, hey, where's the next one? What's going to happen next? And she was like, that's it, baby. There's no more. It's Greek and Roman mythology. I'm like, there's got to be another one next week because I read comic books, right? She's like, no, honey, that's it. So I was like, these are great stories. How come there's no more? And then I found out Campbell wrote volumes of different, mythology and everything that was from every culture, And so I'm like, oh, this is great. But I didn't discover that until college. So my mom taught me to read at 5 because she used to always say, anything you want to know, you can go and look it up. She had 2 sets of encyclopedias, 5 dictionaries sitting around the house. So anything I wanted to know, she'd like, you go look it up. And I never realized she's just teaching me how to read, teaching me how to grow up and be mature and do the research on my own, as opposed to getting it from someone else. So she taught me how to read. And because of that, my kindergarten graduation, they did this big ceremony and they said, hey, can someone do the Dr. Martin Luther King speech? And I'm like, oh, you mean the I Have a Dream? And they're like, how do you know that? I'm like, well, my mom and my dad, and I gave them the background. Well, my school at that time happened to be on the west side of Chicago, in the midst of like where all the riots had taken place. People were looting and burning things down when King had been assassinated. That was before me. I was born in 69. But she said, you can do this. And I'm like, what are you talking about? They want me to memorize all this. I can't. She's like, I'll help you. I'm like, okay. So we did it. I think I was 5 in kindergarten, six maybe. And I got up to do this thing, Kel. It was like the audience, the moms and the dads and the teachers, the way they responded was so powerful to me as a kid, because they either cried or they wept. And I mean wept, not just cry. I mean wept. Or they cheered or they were happy. And the kids were like, oh, this is great. And I didn't realize the power in theater, that you can move someone with a voice, or you can move someone with something that they were familiar to with, that brought joy or brought happiness or brought peace. So I was like, this is great. This is awesome. So that was at that young age. After that, sports, football, basketball, track, everything else, just sports. And then I came back to theater basically in high school, and informative speaking or declarative speaking and all that. I'm like, oh, this is great. I forgot. You can move a crowd, you can. And so that's what was cool for me. And that's how my background came up with acting and doing voice work and everything else. And then someone told me when I got to LA, I went to school for speech, English, and theater, is where I got my undergrad. I got my graduate, my master's in theater. I had a football scholarship at the University of Minnesota. So I played football and then got my undergrad. And then someone said, hey, you can get another scholarship. I'm like, really? Free school? And they're like, yeah, in theater. All you have to do is audition. And I did the audition for the URTAs, Urban Repertory Theater. So I did that. Got chosen by more schools to get a scholarship than I did for football. So I was like, oh, okay, I should have been doing this a long time ago. So wound up staying at the University of Minnesota because the Guthrie was there. I'd already been established. I was doing voiceover stuff with Nuts, with Jan Hilton, who ran non-union talent service. So all these different things were happening. I'm giving you more of a background. I think even my wife knows. So I did all that. And then wound up staying at the University of Minnesota, wound up graduating from the University of Minnesota's master program. It was an uphill thing. That's a whole different podcast we'll talk about, because I'm trying to bring joy. And and then we did that, and then wound up staying there. and then got married in 96. And I said, honey, you know, I'm from Chicago. We've done Chicago. We're in Minneapolis, and it's got a huge theater thing going. Let's try. And I've been to New York. I didn't dig New York. In New York, during that whole audition process to get to college and everything, I went back and auditioned for some soap opera stuff. While I was in the auditioning, I got a phone call that my mom was sick and she passed. And so my relationship with New York is just, oh my gosh, my mom died. And I was just, I remember walking all of Manhattan in the rain and walking when the two towers were still up. And I have no clue how I knew where I was going or how I got back to the hotel I was staying at. It was just those memories just hit me from New York. So, but I went out to New York. I've done work in New York. It's just that I was like, I don't know if I want to stay here because those memories come up, you know?
Yeah.
And long story short, again, I say that.
Dude,
wound up saying,
tell
hey,
the story.
Yeah. I was like, hey, hon, let's see what LA is like. Let's go out there. We had just gotten married. And I said, let's go out there. So we had, I think, a 13 or 14-day round trip, just a ticket to see what it's like. We're going to stay with friends in Ontario. And Ontario, I didn't know was that far from LA. So it's a trek. So, but it was worth it to me because I'm always about the hustle. I'm always about the work. So my wife said, okay, I'm going to go home. We had just bought a house. We had just gotten married. She had just gotten a beauty salon. We were just able to get her a car. So all this stuff we're leaving, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm out here okay, that's a heck of a wife. That's my ride or die. So, we wound up after 14 days. I'm like, all right, I got cast in a show. Abdul Razak cast me in a show, and he's no longer with us. He cast me in a show, and we did two. I was an understudy, and then one guy didn't show up, and I wound up going on. And then shortly afterwards, I got a call from. I had sent all my stuff out prior to leaving to see if I could get a bite, a casting director, something, because LA's big. And Monica Swan, Monica Swan, bless her heart. She was a casting director for Sister, amongst other things, the Wayans brothers. And then they did their show. So she said, hey, out of all those cards, I sent out probably 150 cards. Hey, I'm going to be in LA. Would love to meet with you. One response. It was Monica Swan. And she said, hey, come in. I'd like to meet with you. So we met. I think we talked for 2.5 hours. Just just hanging out, just like what we're doing right now. And I wound up booking Sister, I think a week later. No agent, no representation, just Monica Swan, a casting director. The Lord had his hand on this whole thing, and I had no clue it was working like that. Did the show, then wound up doing In the House, then wound up doing a Chicago Hope. And then just from there on, just continued to work and just, putting the axe to grind and just working. Then we had our 4 boys and, the rest is history.
Yeah.
So that's it in a nutshell. When you ask about what I've done, it's like, that's how we got here. And that is hopefully inspiring enough to tell people, never give up on your dreams. Never stop pursuing what it is that you're trying to do. Never, ever, ever stop training in what it is that you're pursuing. Always get better. Get better than you think you can get. Get better than the next person. It's not a competition, but get better and go for it. Within reason. Yeah. Don't compromise though.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Never. One of the things like. I tell my family as well, like, look, no matter how good you think you are, keep pushing yourself, keep learning. Like, regardless, I've got some knucklehead nephews and nieces.
Don't we all?
I love them, but knucklehead. I'm like, oh yeah, I just graduated high school. I got everything I need. Yeah.
And then life goes.
It's like,
but you know what?
Be humble.
But encourage them though, Kel, because they have to go through the same process that we went through. And think about the mistakes that we made. Had we not made them, we wouldn't be where we are today, probably, right?
Yeah.
So encourage them even in their mistakes, that, yeah, I can tell you what not to do. My dad always said, you'll never know what a man feels until you walk a mile in his moccasins. I never understood that, but it was very true. And I even now find myself sounding like my dad, telling my kid, you can't judge, you can't talk about what you would do, what you could do. You're not in that situation. And even I could tell you what to do in this situation, but especially my sons, be like, oh yeah, whatever, Dad. They got to go through it. They got to go through it on their own to, either beat it, struggle in it, because you learn a lot through struggle, or, just deal with it and come up with different solutions. Because in them going through it and you not helping them, you can give them advice. I'm not saying that, but you not helping them, it allows them to get through it, get stronger, and then help the next person.
Yeah. It definitely teaches them, and I feel like that's probably something I'm seeing that's kind of becoming a little bit of a lost art is, learning from situations and accountability. It's something. I run into a lot of people and they're like, oh, this happened because this is this person's fault, and I can't do this because of this person. I'm like,
pointing
what
the
about
fingers.
you?
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, I always say when you point fingers, it's like 3 pointing back at you. It's very true, man. We live in a world that's so self-indulged right now. And I just think there is a case for like you say, more accountability, but also think that there should be more integrity going around. There's but it's not being taught, and it's regardless of culture, it's just not being taught. Regardless of culture, regardless of creed, it's just not being taught in this world. Accountability, integrity, humility, courtesy, empathy, certain things just aren't being taught anymore. And so, it's our job, those of us who understand it and its power, to at least demonstrate it and speak on it. So, that's what we got to do. That's what you got to do to your nieces and nephews now. Yeah, I know it's a task, but it's all right. It ain't too heavy. You good?
No, I mean, I get a phone call or a text or a video message like, Uncle Kel, can you do this for me? And I see you got this, and this, and I'm like, well, son, I worked hard to get to where I am. Right. Like, oh, so you worked hard, so I don't have to. No.
Oh, brother, they actually said that?
Yeah. Like, no, brother, it don't work that way.
Yeah. And that's when you go, sit down, son. Let me talk to you.
Let me have a word with you.
let me talk to you. That's so funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. So that's me in a nutshell. Very, very abbreviated, storyline on the business end of it. But as far as my work, it's all on most of it is on IMDb. I don't know who monitors that thing, but they got a lot of it. They actually have some folks, a man by the name of John Eric Bentley, who was a writer back in the day, white guy. They have that on mine. I'm like, I didn't do that. I was 3 years old. It was like, but and I told them, I wrote them, I said, that's not me. There's a big old picture of me, and then you see this movie called So Fine, and it's about a movie with some jeans with the booty cut out, and it's supposed to be a trend. I'm like, that's not me. I'm not in. I was a baby. So, but it's all good.
I mean, when you look at looking at your IMDb, man, your career, you've done so much, and it's impossible to try and keep up with everything you've done. And I've your work kind of reminds me of my other friend that's in LA as well, Gerald, who he voices Bison in Street Fighter.
Oh yeah.
Gerald Rivers, real good friend of mine, real good friend. I actually got to go to LA last year for the E3 gaming convention. And,
I was there, man.
I didn't know you back then.
Nobody did. No, I was there with my son Noah, and he got more of a kick out of it than I did. But yeah, I was there.
It was a trip, like walking around that convention. I'm like, man, there's a whole lot going on. And I got a call from Gerald. He's like, He said, Mekel, how long are you gonna be out here? I'm like, I'm out here for 4 days. He's like, you want some good cooking, some good food? I was like, yeah. He's like, come on over to my house. I was like,
oh, cool.
I'm like, how far is that? Because I got my hotel LAX,
right?
To the convention supposed to be 15 minutes. And
not taking in consideration the traffic. Yeah, no, yeah, it's it's LA, baby. It's a trip, man. It's
how do you get used to that?
You just do. It's a city where, if you got a car, you're blessed. You can get to where you need to get to. If you got money to get gas. but it's just like that. It's one of the most spread out cities or states that I've ever seen. And I've been to some states, bro, and lived in several, but it's spread out. Our downtown is not like a normal downtown. It's starting to become, but it's different. It's a spread out place, and you learn to get to where you got to get to. Now there's a train system, there's a great bus system. Oh my gosh, it's just really good. Even the train system is good, but it's just spread out. You got to get used to it. But you're right. If you were at LAX and you were going to the convention center for E3, that's a haul. You had to rent a car.
Yeah, that was we took Uber. And
there you go. That's another way
that
to
was
get around.
An hour.
Yeah. It's at least you weren't driving it.
Right.
But yeah, it's spread out. It's there's a lot of traffic, a lot of people here. That's why it's a lot of people. You think about it, LA, Chicago, New York,
Miami,
Atlanta now. It's starting to come, and then parts of Dallas. Dallas is becoming pretty big. So you think about the number of people that are in these places. It's a lot, bro. It's a lot. But yeah, E3 was a big deal, and I just got back from but I got back from PAX this year, PAX East. Oh my gosh, and some of the exhibitors didn't even show up, and there was a lot of people. It was really cool to watch that. But I was more impressed by the independent gamers. The independent games that are out there right now, they had like rows and sections. It was just like, oh my gosh, look at all these up and coming gamers doing their thing. Right. So that was a lot of people.
Isn't it crazy? Like you look back, when gaming was coming up, when you and I were younger, to where it
Atari.
is now, Atari, ColecoVision,
the first PlayStation,
right? Like, you look at it and it's like, you never would have thought back then how huge that industry was going to blow up.
I did. I was an only child, bro. So I was like, this is great. If someone can come up with something, this is great. If someone can come up with something, so it went from Pong, to Atari, and then ColecoVision and television, ColecoVision, and then you're dealing with Nintendo, and then Nintendo 64, and I'm skipping stuff. I mean, they had stuff that was just like, it would keep your interest forever, because I was an only child too, and a latchkey kid. So I would look forward to come home from school and get on my little game, because mom and dad were still at work. So I'd go and buy my little 75-cent French fries from Leon's Barbecue, in Chicago, and go upstairs. Didn't do no homework yet. I was like, I got to eat my French fries with my barbecue sauce and play my game first. Turn over Space Invaders. Ooh, look at that. I turned the numbers over because they did, the numbers didn't go. They would stop. And then by the time I looked up, mom was almost on her way home. I was like, I finished my fries. I turned it over. I better look like I'm doing some homework. So I did all my homework. Like I said, but then sports, they're just the whole different level of understanding how to get your homework done and not being able to play the video game anymore.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, man, back in the day, no one would think it'd blow up like this. My son, Maxwell, is he's the smartest person in this home. He has been refurbishing and fixing all these gaming systems, all these phones, all these different things. He was like, hey, Dad, I want you to check out this thing called Oculus Rift. I'm like, what is that? He's like, it's a virtual reality game. I'm like, okay, let's go. And he's like, no, it's in my room. I'm like, what? He's like, let me move some things. So he got his clothes up off the floor and said, hey, we're going to play this thing. I'm like, what? He's like, put this headset on. I'm like, okay. And put these in your hand. And he walked me through the tutorial. And it literally was like, oh my gosh, you can have virtual reality in your crib? And then he put me in this game. And he said, all right, you're going to be in a bar scene. I don't know the name of the game. You're in a bar and you got to fight. So I was like, what? And it came on. I'm like, hey, what's that big dude coming at me? And, you know, I'm punching. And all of a sudden, he said, wait. And I accidentally hit him. And I'm like, Max, what? Oh, my gosh. And he's like, I told you to wait. I said, I couldn't hear you. The dudes in the bar were screaming. And he was like, man, it's a trip, huh, Dad? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, are you bleeding? It was just crazy, man. So I'm like, I won't play that game anymore with my son around because I'm like, I accidentally reached out and popped him. And but the fact that he had this game in his room and it looked so real, and now he's like, yeah, I got a new game called what is it? Walking Dead. You can come in and play it. I'm like, I'm not playing the other game in the room if you're gonna be in there because I love you and I don't want to hit you. And if it's Walking Dead and I know it's scary, I'm not playing it. You know. But yeah, so it's a trip where it's come, bro. Kel, it's come a long way.
It's you know, especially you grew up looking at stuff like Tron and whatnot to think,
which I loved.
You know,
you get to be in a video game,
right? You know, it's like to think like we went from the little, you know, the little pixels on Atari and ColecoVision to now we got characters that look realer than real life. I'm like,
bro. I was playing Final Fantasy and someone laughed at me. Who was it? I think one of my sons laughed at me. I was like, what's so funny? They're like, you're not moving. And I said, oh, I was just looking at the environment and the drawing, the rendering and how it was moving and the hair, different things were moving. And then the music behind it. I'm like, this is one of the most beautiful video games that I've ever seen in my life and ever heard in my life. And I'm like, I get to be a part of this. And I just got caught up in it. And they just fell out laughing because they're like, Dad, you're not moving. I'm like, I'm sorry. It's just, I'm humbled by this. It's just a beautiful game.
Yeah, I mean, and just, you know, you look at what we saw the evolution of gaming from where it is to now. So like for us, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
You know,
everything. Literally.
Dude, you got everything you have in details, the dust, the rocks, you know, the details in the hair. I'm like,
literally. Like, where am I? Who did this? Right? Oh, it's easy. You can just, no, it's not. That's just a miracle. Like, oh, the creators, and they're just getting better.
Yeah.
You know, and it like, you know, when you look at games, just straight CPU games, not even console games, some of the stuff they're doing is so innovative. Oh, bro, just the coding that people are doing. My son Maxwell, he's making a game right now. I'm like, just turn-based games and all these different point-and-click games, and even the games that I play, because I love these games. I think it's Big Fish. Does these games where you have to find the hidden objects, and you would think, oh, this is great. We'll find the game. You'll play a game. It's like which side can you spot the differences and stuff like that. I like those kind of games because they you know, build your mind and everything and memory. But now they have these games. Big Fish does them, and you don't just find the hidden objects. There's a storyline behind it. And it's a through line, and it's good. Some of them are very, very good. And it's like, oh, and the music behind some of them is really good. It's like, oh my gosh, this is a point and click game, and I've been playing for 3 hours. You know, I discovered a whole lot during this quarantine. But it's just amazing what people are doing, you know.
Yeah, and you look at the amount, you know. And it's one thing, like with this show, I try to bring a lot of awareness to people who are not only into games, but, you know, movies and whatnot and more. There are so many people behind these projects.
Yes.
So many teams. Like for Resident Evil 3, you know, when they were in the process of starting that up, they kept coming out here to Hawaii. I worked with Capcom Japan. I worked with Ruben Langdon, who does Dante from Devil May Cry and
I just got 5. I just got started 5.
Ooh, how you liking it?
Hooked. That, and I just started Yakuza. I need to really stop starting games at the same time. Hooked. Haven't even finished Red Dead Redemption. Haven't even finished Spider-Man. Haven't even just so many. Just hooked. I'm just hooked.
It's crazy, like getting to work with like the audio team and the visual team and the voice acting cast. Like, so many, like when I, on top of, when I do the reviews for stuff, like I get comments from people saying, "Oh, this game is lazy. Oh, they ain't put any effort." I'm like, "Are you serious? Like, can I virtually reach through the screen and pimp slap you?"
Yeah.
Come on now.
No, you have no clue how much went into this.
None. Especially for the voice actors. Like for you guys, how many times you got to redo lines and like, okay, that's good. Add this little bit to it, like
right. Or you know what? That didn't sound right. I didn't like that. Or that wasn't the character. So many different little details that we have to pay attention to, and depending on whether you're doing a game where you're the mocap artist, so you know what you've done and what you've said in it, or depending on your voice has to match what's already been done. There's so many details that go into it that most people don't understand. I look at some of the comments of people post on social media, and I always get a kick out of it. I can never take it personally when it's like offensive, because they just don't know, and people are like, yeah, you should have, and they need to, and I can't believe Square Enix, and I didn't. It's like, y'all have no clue what goes on behind this. You guys are just the consumers right now going, gimme, 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 and not understanding the process that this takes or the length of time that this takes. So just appreciate the fact that someone is making a game that you'll enjoy, you know what I mean? If you give it time and if you just stop being negative. But I've also found, especially raising boys, that social media is the breeding place for people who talk smack who would never talk smack in real life. Face to face. No,
they're not about that life.
No, it is what it is. Like I said, my folks are from the South, but I grew up in Chicago. So it's a whole different mindset of, and then I was an athlete. So it's like, oh, you're just saying that because you're scared lined up against me. I get it. You know what I mean? So it's just like, it's whatever. You just, live and learn.
I've had some run-ins, some situations with different people that have said some things online, and when I see them, they're like, I didn't mean it like that. I'm like, you sure? Because
the first thing they tell you, Kel, I really love your show.
Right?
And then they do that, and you say what? What did you tell them?
I was like, you sure? Because you had the caps lock on, and you were typing that keyboard pretty hard there.
You're banging it out.
Yeah, you make me sick, and I can't believe you. You're from Hawaii, and I don't.
And then you see her like, oh, hi. Can I have your autograph, please?
See, I'm telling you, like this social media age, man, like
it's different. But that's that's where I tell you some of the selfish stuff is bred, and some of the negativity and. It's kind of like, oh, you just did that because you thought it was cool to be. I saw a great post. A friend of mine, Kaylee, wrote, I think it was Kaylee. She wrote something like, oh, no, it was Amber. I love that woman. She's great people. You should meet her. She's a podcaster too. I'll try to send you her information. But she wrote something like, it was, it's not cool. I'm butchering this, but it's not cool to talk smack. What did she say? It's not always just because you talk smack doesn't make you popular.
Yeah.
Basically. And I was like, that's true. People think that controversy brings followers or interest or whatever. And it's like, you don't have to be a shock jock to get attention. And so that's what I'm finding is like, gimme, 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 me, I, my. I don't like hanging out with folks like that. That's just me though.
No, I'm the same way, man. I it's funny. Everyone wants to be Howard Stern in a way. They want that controversial attention. And it's like, the thing is, like, I I see people like striving for that. I'm like, you do realize that if you start this, you're gonna have to keep that up.
Yeah.
That's a lot of negative energy. And I don't know if I'm sensitive to energy or not, but like if I'm around a person, not even that long, I can pick up that vibe. Like,
oh yeah, you can hear it. The first thing you hear is me, my, I.
Yep.
And when you hear that, you kind of go, okay, I got a sense of who I'm talking to and I'm dealing with right now. And then you know, always say actions speak louder than words, and the eyes are the windows to the soul. So, you know, if you can get enough discernment to figure out what's going on with people, then you can figure them out. But, you know, I try not to put people in a box, and I try to give them the benefit of the doubt, but I also try to figure out how to steer the conversation and make it more positive than where it could go. So that's just, you know, practice and patience. Oh my God, so much patience.
Yeah.
But I got 4 boys, so I got a lot of time to practice. My wife and I both, we practice.
You know, speaking about like some of the stuff I've you know, read like the criticism like for like Final Fantasy VII, I've heard some people are saying like, oh, it's not the full game, or some people critique like the voice cast, and I find it interesting because I'm like, don't you, if you want more, wouldn't you want to support it? Just a little thought.
Simplicity.
There's a I won't name him, but there's a content creator. It doesn't have that many more. Well, he's probably got like 20 or so thousand more subs than me, but he kind of ruined it for us smaller folks just because he got a copy of the game.
Oh, and posted.
Yeah, so
a bunch of leaks.
Yes. So Square was very specific. Very specific. You can't show or talk about this, and this. Like, keep it to the first maybe hour or two of the game. And he, not only that, he bashed the game, bashed the voice act. He made a comment. Okay, this ain't to stir something, but I think you get a kick out of it because I got a good read of you. So he bashed the voicing of Sephiroth, Cloud, and you. And for you, he's like, well, Barrett sounds like a white guy trying to pretend to be
I
black.
heard that. That was before it came out, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw, and it has started this huge rumor that Barrett was not going to be voiced by a black actor.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, oh, Barrett's white. I remember that. I remember that. And I thought that was the funniest thing. Is he black or white?
He's white.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. But, you know, I saw that, and it made me laugh so hard. I'm like, I think I'm black. Wait a minute. Maybe I'm not. If he says I'm not black, maybe I'm not. I fell out. I had my friends and I just did a whole to-do about it. I thought that was hilarious. I don't know who he is. Even to this day, I don't know. I didn't even know he was, what'd you say, content?
Yeah, he does YouTube videos.
Yeah. I heard him say that. And you know, that was when it first was coming out, and personally, he had no clue because there were only snippets of things that were being released. And so I found that hilarious. And then people who knew me were like, hey man, they said that you were white. And I'm like, oh, that's hilarious. And then I went back in the day when I, you know, because my mom taught me how to read at a very young age. I was pretty articulate as an only child in the hood in Chicago. So I remember my friends coming up to me, man, you're so proper. That was the word. You're so proper. And I thought it was funny when I looked, I'm like, well, Mom, what does proper mean? She was like, well, you know, you speak well. It's derived from what people say in England. My mom was a serious educator. You know, proper is proper. And so I fell out laughing because my friends like John Brown and Marshall Fortson and all these kids growing up, Irving, all my boys growing up, Mark Gaiman. Yeah, you talk proper, but you still a brother. And they didn't use the term brother.
Right, right.
But it was like that's so funny to me. So then I saw this that the voice of Barrett is the white guy trying to sound black, and it was like, oh, this is one of those dudes who on and fourth and 10. When you line up against him, because I was a receiver, he's got to say something because he wants to distract you because he knows he's about to get run the hell over. I went, oh yeah, that's this guy. He's just talking smack and doesn't know what he's talking about. So I got a kick out of it, man. I thought that was funny. I wasn't offended by that one. That one made me laugh. I'm like, oh yeah, he thinks a white guy thinks a white guy is imitating a black guy.
Right?
But don't get me wrong. Now, look, in his defense, how many shows, let's be honest,
okay,
both animated, anime, as well as cartoon shows, is there a black character who's being voiced by someone who's not of the same culture? I mean, you think about it. Yeah. I think South Park, Isaac Hayes was doing Chef, which everybody was like, oh, this is great. Oh my gosh, this is so great. He's a black man. This is a real black man doing in the black culture. We were like, this is awesome. Because usually white folks or whoever the producers are for certain shows or even Japanese anime, they think that if I sound like this, then I'm being black. And it's like, no, you're doing a caricature. This is what you think black folks sound like. You don't know the experience. You haven't lived that life. You're just trying to make it sound like what you think it should sound like. And usually it's pretty negative. And it's pretty much a worldview or a cultural view of another culture that has been demonstrative to their image. So, I mean, I'll never forget this, and I'm going to lead up to what I'm talking about. I'll never forget
Take your time, man.
going to Mexico, and I had to finish up my language requirement in Mexico in order to get my degree, my undergrad degree. And I remember walking through Los Zocalo, and I saw the market, the downtown area, and I saw the newsstand, and I'm like, oh, look at all these things that are happening in the world. This is what's going on. And I was there during the time, I think, when the whole OJ thing was going on, which was kind of frightening because I was one of the only black folks in Cuernavaca at the time. And I saw these comic books, and I'm a comic book dude. So I went straight to the comic books. I'm like, whoa. And it had Lil Sambo. It had Mammy. It had Ain't Your Mama. It had all these different images, and some of them even had the titles. It was in the titles of all these negative black stereotypes that the world has created, that America has created, that the world has created. The images of a black person with big lips or funny hair or just stupid stuff. And I'm going, who's to blame for this, though? So now that culture thinks that everybody is like that or everybody sounds a certain way. And now it's become a mockery. And it's no longer a true life example of how that culture should be represented. So going into this, to do Final Fantasy, I wanted to make sure that my culture, our culture, was not being made a fool of, a mockery of, that Barrett wasn't some big black brute, that he wasn't someone who sounded ignorant, that he wasn't someone who was one-dimensional. He's so many things. He's a freedom fighter. He is a father who adopted his friend's daughter because of a situation that happened. He is a leader. He's so many different things. And I wanted to make sure that all those different levels of emotion, all those different things were played the right way, because if you're not going to be true to the character, a black man in this situation, in this particular time in Midgar, then I wouldn't be able to do it justice. So for someone to come and say all that with only hearing little snippets or not understanding it or not understanding the process of having to do the voice work with how it was presented to us, the writing, all the different things, I wanted to make sure that we got it right. So for someone to come in and say whatever they're going to say whatever they want to say. Everyone has their opinions.
Yeah.
You know, they're like buttholes. Everyone has one, and they all stink. No, anyway. My father-in-law used to say that. It cracked me up. But not everyone stinks. Some opinions are very good, and they're actually great for constructive criticism, so you can take notes on it. But for someone to give their opinion and be so negative on what they think is going on without any kind of proof or without any kind of backing or without any kind of anything behind it, it's ridiculous to me. So that's my answer to all that.
No, I mean, well said. A lot more professional about it than I would have been.
Oh no, I've learned, man. You can't go up there. What you say? You know what? Give me his hand. I'm gonna call him right now. I'm gonna go. I'm not gonna. It's not.
Where you at?
Not worth it.
Meet me on the corner of South and Third.
Exactly. Put on a helmet. Line up. No, the thing is, Kel. Like I said, people are gonna say what they want to say, and everyone is entitled to their opinions. It's just that I've learned that a lot of people really think that they're going to get famous off of talking smack. And I've literally seen people hit me. I dare you, hit me. And it's like, oh, you're trying to get paid, so you want somebody to sue you. It's just the world. We live in a world that's all about opportunity. And or there's a lot of people who are opportunists, I should say. Not everybody is, but there's a lot of opportunists in the world, and they'll do whatever they can for their 5 seconds of fame, whatever it may be. And certain things just aren't worth it. You let stuff roll off you like, a duck in water.
And it's the crazy thing too. You got, especially with, I know this has happened with our generation as well, but like seeing so many of the younger generation coming up doing anything to get, attention, clout, it's scary.
It is. That's why I say don't compromise, especially if you're going to try to do something in life that you love and can be a means of a profession for you. Don't compromise. I've seen too many people in my profession compromise. They either give up their bodies, they give up their rights, they give up their livelihood to satisfy what someone wants or how someone perceives them. And it's like you can't compromise. You can't sell your soul.
Yeah.
You just can't. It's not worth it.
Which just goes back to what we were saying. You gotta have integrity. Definitely gotta have character.
Yeah.
And have self-accountability. And
yes.
I know it's it's a different time and it can be trying sometimes, but you gotta really think about who do you want to be? What kind of role model do you want to? Well, sometimes a lot of people don't realize that we're role models to somebody. Regardless,
someone's looking at you. Someone's looking up at you, up to you.
Yeah,
it's true. Very true. I learned that at a very young age as a kid, coming up, not having much. There's always someone else who doesn't have even what you have, and I used to be that kid in the hood that would go and make sure that the younger kids were cool and, hey, you guys fine? No one wants to play with us today. All right, well, let's play some tag. Let's play some hide and seek. Let's go shoot some hoops. It was just good. And it was also because I was an only child and I wanted a younger brother. I wanted an older brother or sister. And I'll just never forget, my mom and dad taught me how to pay it forward at a very young age and told me how to be thankful in all things and thankful for what we had, and we were, people who were less fortunate than we were in the situations that I was in. I just wanted to make sure that they were okay. I just want to see people happy.
Yeah. And just coming up, I know for myself, like coming up from the hood to where I'm at now, I have such a air of appreciation for what I have, and it's like, when I do go back to Memphis or I do meet other folks there and they're like, man, I wish I could do this. Anytime I hear people say, I wish I could do this, I'm like, what's stopping you? How do we formulate something? Like what are some steps we can take to get you to where you want to be?
Right. And how can I help?
Yeah. And a lot of people really think that, oh, it's impossible. I'm like, the only impossibility is your own mindset, brother. Like, come
so
on.
True. So true. What's stopping you is usually what's in between your ears. And then a lot of times what's right here in your heart, you know. But once again, a lot of people don't have folks to encourage them to try things, or a lot of people don't feel like they can get out of the environment that they're in. And I'm here to tell you that there is a way to go about doing it. And I couldn't do half the things that I do, honestly, if it wasn't for prayer. My faith in the Lord is what allows me to be able to do and accomplish a lot of the things that I go for, and then learn for the things that I don't accomplish. But the simple fact that, you know, I know my relationship with the Lord is a driving force, and gives me the confidence and gives me the security in what I need to do and how to go for it. You know, I rely heavily on prayer, on prayer. My dad always said, you know, prayer changes things, and I've seen that happen.
Yeah, it helps, you know, especially going through times like this, you know. To you know, you can pray and, you know, just have that. This too shall pass.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people have this mentality, no, it's going to get worse. It's going to get. I'm like, no. This too shall pass. And there's a silver lining in almost everything. You know, and I know we were talking about this before, you know, we started the Soul Show, and honestly, I know a lot of people are upset, angry that, oh, I got to stay home. Oh, I got to do this. I'm like, for a lot of them, I'm like, look, what is it you have wanted to do, but you didn't have the time for?
Right.
Like, oh, man.
There's about to be so many self-made billionaires that come out of this.
Yeah.
So many people that come out with innovative projects that never were able to get done or didn't have time to do that they're going to be able to do, or so many inventions that come out of this. I really do believe there's going to be a lot of entrepreneurs that are birthed from this crisis. I had a person tell me, a 90-year-old guy who was a survivor of, you know, the Nazi prison camps, said to them, it's tough situations we're living in, but if I can get through what I got through and survive, we're going to be all right.
Yeah.
And that hit me so hard. This dude was in Auschwitz, and he survived and said, if I can survive that, I'll be fine here. And he's much older.
Yeah.
So I'll be fine through this. And that hit me, and it put things into perspective. And it honestly made me go, let me stop trying to rationalize things and just do what I know to be is right. Let me stay in this house, protect my family, make sure that they stay in the house, because my boys are restless right now. They want to, can we just go for a drive? I have no problem with you going for a drive, but just don't get out and go hang out in places. Okay. You know, so there's different things that, you know, I was like, okay, well, let's all go on a drive. Let's go to the beach. We're going to the beach? Yes, we're going to drive PCH, and we're just going to look at the sunset. Okay. So there's ways to do this, but you got to exercise wisdom during these times. You know, because my biggest thing is, there's a lot of things that I want to do right now, but there's a whole lot of things that I want to do in the future, and doing something right now will compromise my life to be able to not do it in the future if I do something stupid right now. So that's where my head is with it. And that's what I try to tell my boys. I want to see you around. I want to be here to see your grandchildren. You know, so you know when you put it in different perspective, it changes the mindsets.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like, you know, when everything that you do now, you know, try to make sure the steps that you take now, the actions you do now, make sure they line up to something down the road
that will allow you a future.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That will allow you to have a future and to be healthy and to not cut your future short even. That's my mindset.
And, you know, I want to definitely talk about more stuff with you, man. How much time we got with you?
I told you we got to do this again. I I just looked. You got the little live thing up there. I can see how long we've been talking for an hour. I love it. It's like being in the living room, chilling and kicking back. We got to just do another, because I know we covered a lot of personal stuff.
Yeah.
I know we haven't covered a whole lot in the game. We've covered a lot of things in the game. But yeah, we can do this again, man. This is fun. I like hanging out with Kel and the Kasanova podcast.
Right. How much more time you got?
Well, it sounds like we got a lot to talk about. How about how much time do you need? And then let's figure it out from there.
Sir, I do this for a living, so I'm here all day. How much time you got?
Well, I gotta see. The family is starting. What is it? It's 11 o'clock here. The family is probably starting to come out of their rooms right now, and they're going. I'm sure my wife is like hanging out and cooking breakfast and but I haven't been able to hang out with her today, and I haven't been able to get a workout in. That's the one thing I've decided I'm gonna change during this time is I'm gonna work out and get back to keeping my body healthier and stronger. And so I want to walk I walk with my wife. We get to pray and walk at the same time, and we get to catch up on, hey, what's going on? We get to walk a little bit, not too far from the house. And I just gotta, I got things I gotta get done.
Okay.
But I'll get. You want 5 more minutes? Is that enough time?
I had like 3 more questions.
Oh, let's knock out the questions.
We can roll with it.
And then we'll reschedule for another time to come back on, if it's okay with you.
Dude, gotta have you back on, man. I'm loving this energy. I'm loving this energy.
Okay. Well, let's do the 3 questions.
Okay. So we're gonna hop before. So I want to give a special shout out to Studio Nicktendo and Avidan Smith and none other than Talos for the donations and super chats. I appreciate it. It really helps keeping the show going.
Thank y'all.
I appreciate y'all for that. So the questions, when you how did it feel when you got selected for the role of Barrett in Final Fantasy VII Remake? Like, was that surreal for you, or
felt like a kid on Christmas morning who got everything that he asked for? Literally, I jumped up, danced, did circles. My wife was like, calm down. I'm like, you don't understand. This is a game that I grew up playing. This was the first RPG. There had a black character in it that I could relate to, and he lived. He didn't die. He was a leader, and so I was beyond thrilled. I didn't know how big at the time. I still a buddy of mine, Alex Main, who runs KupoCon conventions, which if you ever get a chance to go, you gotta. Oh my gosh, best crowd in the world at conventions. But he told me, John, you have no clue. You have no idea. You have no clue how big this is.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, every time I see him, I go, you're right. And it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. I never realized that the world loved this game like this, like I did in my little apartment in Chicago. Not in Chicago, but my little apartment when I got married to Michelle. It's like, this is a great game. This is awesome. Oh, finish it in a day. I never realized it was going to be. I never realized it was going to be this big, and it's overwhelmingly humbling. And I'm excited. I'm still excited about it. And so I still am that little fanboy running around the house going, oh my God, look at that. Just you can dunk in basketball on Atari, Mom.
It's crazy because like my wife has been she's been streaming the game. I think she's done like 2 or so streams, and she's gonna do another one today. And she's like, Mr. Barrett. I'm like, why are you calling him Barrett? She's like, Mr. Barrett. I'm like, okay.
That's cute. That's really cute. We were at a KupoCon in London, and this group of 3 people, they were sitting on the side, and they're like, hey, we just wanted to come up and say, hey, we really love you, and we did it. I'm like, all right, cool, thank you very much. She's like, but the one girl didn't come up, and she said, we have a friend, and she's extremely shy, and she wants to say hi, but she just doesn't know how. And I'm like, well, okay, I'll go say hi to her. So I walk up, and she totally reminds me of my niece Stella, and she's just this slight little beautiful girl, she's crying, and I'm like, why are you crying? She's like, because I meet you. And I'm like, I've never been in that situation where someone has cried, because of who I am. Like, and I said, is it okay if I just hug you and make sure you're okay? Because she literally, she was trembling, and I'm like, I'm just John, it's me. And I held her, and her friends were there, and I said, you guys come on in. We hugged, all of us were hugging. And I said, are you okay? She's like, I'm fine. And then she went on to tell me the story. Barrett, growing up playing this, and she was young, growing up playing this, my father introduced me to this game. And Barrett is like my father. And so all of these relationships that he had with Marlene were like his relationship with me. And so to meet you was humbling, because and I'm like, oh my gosh, whole different level of why are you crying? And I just reached out and I grabbed her again. I said, I'm sure your father would love to know that you love him that much and that you care for him that much. Please make sure you tell him that. Please make sure that, and so it turned into a whole different healing process for her, as well as for me, because I had just lost my father 2 years prior to, less than 2 years prior to. So, it's stories like that just make me go, oh, wow, this is way bigger than just the video games, just the character, the fact that, I was blessed to be chosen for the role. It's just stories like that. They make the world go around for me, man.
Yeah. And what was like the recording process like for you? Was it long sessions, or was it short? Was it a round table?
Our sessions were 4-hour sessions. I don't remember how when we started. Now there was a lot of sessions. A lot of sessions. We got a lot done in our sessions, though. I was very focused. And had unbelievably talented directors, audibly, visually, just unbelievable. We had writers that were there, the translators that were there. The sessions were intense, but I was able to adjust to them because of my experience, I guess. But they were far more intense than what I thought. I remember the first sessions, I had to listen to the Japanese, do the lines in English to camera, to picture, because it had already been, mocapped. And I'm like, well, is that the facial expression? Or so you had to, there's so many different things going on in your head where you have to match this. And so I'm going, this is my right brain's thinking, my left brain's thinking. It was just, it was intense. And then how do you make this line work with what's physically being done? Because it wasn't just Barrett's running. It was like the facial expression, and this is what was happening in the scene, and here's you got this going on, and they're doing this behind you, and you're giving it. It was hard. And so I went, wait a minute. So because the sessions were in lumps, when we this month we're doing it, next month we're off, this month we're doing, this month we did this, it was cool because you would always come back to where you were. I would always get a reference. Our sound booth tech, Jay, was just incredible. I mean, we just had an unbelievable team here in America that allowed us to get it done the right way, which all you had to do at one point as an actor was like, I'm going to show up and be this character. And, so it was great. They made it very, Rita at Skylark, she's who cast me. Her team is unreal. And the Square Enix team is just on point. So it was great. It was intense, but it was great. And it was a great lesson as an actor to hone your skill, not just as a voiceover actor, but also as an actor, period. So yeah, it was tough, but it was good. It was hard in the beginning, and then after a while, it was like, okay, you just become the character. You just know you're going into the session to speak like Barrett, and what's happening today. But thank God for research of the storyline that you don't know about, that you have to find out about your character, as well as the whole arc of Final Fantasy. Thank God for the mindset to, like my mom taught me to read, to research. And then thank goodness for the ability to have played the game and been a fan way back when in 97, because you have an understanding of what you're doing, better understanding.
And my last question for you before we go, and greatly appreciate your time being here with us today.
It, man. It's you, Kel.
So what is something you would like to leave the audience with before we wrap this up? Anything.
Not just because of the situation that we're living in right now, the current situation with the coronavirus, but in an everyday life, learn to appreciate life more. Learn to love the people around you more, regardless of what your opinions may be of them. And learn the importance and the, I guess the way joy can be given and taken and given again from the next person to the next person to the next person, and just try to spread that as much as you possibly can. Because right now, we as a people are resilient and fighting things to survive. And I think that we're going to get through this. And all the while, learn what it is that you have been assigned to learn during this time. And become a better person during this time, not just for the benefit of you, but for the benefit of everyone else.
Definitely. And I lied. I actually got one final question for you.
Okay. Go ahead.
Did you have fun?
What, hanging with you?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, man. If people would have heard the conversations that we had prior to coming on live, you know what I mean? It would have been like, yo, yeah, heck yeah. Literally, man, when I feel like I'm talking to someone and they're in my living room or I'm in their living room kicking it, I had a good time. I had a good time. So I can't wait to do it again, bro. See, I'm serious about that. I'm not just saying, I'm serious about that. We got to do it again.
We definitely gonna connect on this.
And if I when it's,
you got a place to stay
when we can, when we can fly again. I don't know about you, man, but I just saw these funny memes of someone said, "This is why I don't fly," and they showed this dude, the screen where you can watch a movie. They showed somebody's foot pushing the buttons and dragging the movies, and I'm like, ooh. Flying, like, I'll be glad when we get back to flying. Wait a minute. And, but if I ever get back, I'm like, if I ever get to Hawaii, I'm hanging. We get to meet in person.
Hey, well, you got a place to stay, man. Like, anytime you come out here, hey,
appreciate it. Then we do a podcast and get all them creative content people mad. Oh, they're not really black.
But before we go, the audience wants you to do a line from the game, if you don't mind. It's up to you.
Wait. First of all, are people listening live right now?
Yeah.
Do you have like a number
of people?
Yeah, listening and tuning in.
25 right now.
25 people. Hey, y'all, 25 people. Much love. Thank you for tuning in to the Kasanova Podcast, hosted by Kel Kasanova. Yeah. I'm doing your commercial.
Right.
But thank y'all so much. But yeah, what line? Did they write something they want me to say? Or is it something from the... And don't be like, yeah, what was your favorite line? There's a lot of favorite lines in this.
That's a lot. So I think...
but I'm not calling anybody an MFer because everybody is asking me to call them an MFer. I don't understand that. That's never been part of the game.
No.
Why are people are like, yeah, can you call me an MFer? I'm like, what? No. And then I was like, well, maybe they think that it's because of the Sam Jackson stuff that I've done.
Oh.
Nick Fury. And I'm like, no, he doesn't call people MFers even as Nick Fury. So
no,
I don't know where that comes from. But anyway.
I think it's so the line I see some folks want you to do is that's a long one.
Just gotta type it.
It's like this pipe's sole purpose is to suck this planet dry while you eat, while you sleep.
Oh, they want me to do.
That's a
Why
long
you eat?
one.
Why you? Yeah, that's the one they want me to do.
Yeah.
Now, give me something shorter because I don't have, unless you can type it. Can you type it to me?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Is that where it says chat?
Yeah.
But it's super long, huh? Oh, there it is. UltraGamer. This pipe's sole purpose is to suck this planet dry while you eat, while you sleep, while you shit. That's when we're talking about the Mako. That's when yeah, okay. And who is this UltraGamer?
Yeah.
I wish I could say hi to them. All right, UltraGamer, this is for you. Cause Kel told me to. This pipe's sole purpose is to suck this planet dry while you eat, while you sleep, while you shit. It's his sucking up Mako. There you go.
There you go. and with that being said, people, you can catch this episode of the Kasanova Podcast and many more. We on every major podcasting outlet. Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio. Y'all see it. It's right there, right below our names. You know, I ain't got to say all that. But it's there. We're on every outlet and all the links.
Pandora?
Yes,
iTunes? YouTube?
Yes,
oh, my goodness.
And we the number one, literally number one podcast in Hawaii for 3.5 years, going strong.
There we go.
You know, links to our amazing guest, John Bentley, the iconic and legendary John Bentley. All his information from his social media to his IMDb, all the links for that are in the description of this podcast. And with that being said, John, we got to do this again, man. We're gonna chop it up. Say just a couple minutes after we end this. And with that being said, people, if y'all enjoyed it, hit the like button. We got Patreon if you want to support. And with that being said, this is John and I. We're signing out. We'll catch y'all.
Deuces.
On the next one.
Much love.
Hey, did you enjoy this episode of the Kasanova Podcast? Well, I'm sure you did. And since you did, and you're wondering where else you can find it, you can find it on every podcasting outlet. Yes, that includes Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Launchpad DM by Podcast One, and so much more. And the only thing I ask of you is if you truly enjoyed it, even if you didn't enjoy it, please leave a rating and tell us what you thought of it, what you like, what you didn't like, and everything in between. And also, if you're looking for video formats of this podcast and many more, you'll be able to find them on youtube.com/Mekel Kasanova, as well as on twitch.tv/Mekel Kasanova, and new episodes every single Monday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, with that being said, this is Mekel Kasanova, Hawaii's favorite YouTuber. I am signing out. You guys have a great one.